Strikes in Yemen. And today, Saudi Arabia launching new airstrikes. Without any doubt, Yemen is imploding. Nearly 1,000 people have been killed since the start of the Saudi-led campaign against the Iran-backed rebels. And today, the Saudi ambassador right here in Washington saying the Saudi military will continue to use force to stop the Houthi militants in Yemen. And who could forget President Obama calling Yemen a success story? Well, the chaos there, it is growing and spreading. It's just another failure in a string of the administration's foreign policy nightmares, from ISIS to Iran to Boko Haram. Just take a look at this latest Fox News poll. 81% of voters say ISIS poses a real national security threat to the United States. 65% of voters say Iran poses a security threat to our homeland. Senator Lindsey Graham joins us. Good evening, sir.
Got some informed voters out there.
What in the world is going on with the president's foreign policy?
Well, it's failing on multiple fronts. He's probably the most ill-prepared person to be commander-in-chief in the history of the country, most likely. He was a community organizer, and his worldview is that we're just one of many nations. We're the glue that holds the world together. If nothing else you've learned over the last 6 years, when America doesn't lead, the world falls apart. And it's dangerous for us.
You know, he just makes bad calls. I mean, I think, in the beginning, I think, when he said ISIS was JV, I thought, oh, my God, I mean, how could anyone say that? I mean, that was really bad. And then last fall he says Yemen is a success. And you look at what's going on in Yemen. He's tried to say things are great in Burma, Myanmar. Well, I was just there recently. They aren't. I mean, they're not as bad as any of these other places. But I mean, where is it?
What's worst of all?
What?
He's dealing with the Iranians if they're a Boy Scout group. You can't trust the Iranians. We're negotiating about their nuclear ambitions. We're about to give them $50 to $100 billion of money if there's a nuclear deal. And he's disconnected their behavior throughout the world. This is nuts. If you give the Iranians money, what do you think they'll do with it?
Yeah, but I don't get that he wants us to trust the Iranians in this deal. Obviously, we're going to watch it carefully.
This deal is weak as it's structured.
Whatever it is. But at the same time, I said, how can he sell to the American people that we should consider going forward and trusting them when he doesn't even trust them to be in Yemen because we've got the USS Roosevelt, there to protect us, to protect our interests, that navigation there.
Can I tell you why Yemen really matters? Al-Qaeda in the Arabian Peninsula resides in Yemen. They're a Sunni radical Islamic terrorist group. They're the #1 threat against the homeland. When the pro-American government in Yemen was toppled by the Houthis, who are backed by Iran, we've lost eyes and ears on Al-Qaeda in the Arabian Peninsula. Our counterterrorism forces have been driven out, and I blame Iran for that. Assad has killed 220,000 Syrians. He couldn't last 5 minutes without the Iranians. Hezbollah is a terrorist group that is destabilizing Lebanon, attacked Israel. They're now funding Hamas, who has been attacking Israel for decades. As they do all this, we negotiate with them as if they're doing nothing bad. This is just insane.
One of the things I don't think anyone's really looking at, though, is that the result of all that's going on means that there are literally millions of displaced persons and millions of refugees, which puts, first of all, humanitarian issues. Christians, but it's going to have an economic cost because the host countries can't afford to have them. These displaced person camps, you've got people who get sick and spread things. You've got people who don't even have any nationality, no birth certificates, no nothing. It's going to have. It's a huge world cost, and it hasn't even. And it's just getting worse.
We should go to one of these refugee camps. I've been to one in Turkey.
I've been to one in Iraq. I've been to displaced persons camps with Franklin Graham in Haiti. I've been to these places. If you've been, you don't forget.
One of the best allies we have in the world is the King of Jordan. He's had 1 million refugees from Syria come into Jordan. It's really hurting the Jordanian economy and putting the king at risk. We have no plan for Syria. We move the ball around in Iraq, but the president has no plan to degrade and destroy ISIL in Syria at all. And if you don't deal with them in Syria, you'll never fix Iraq. At the end of the day, I think his plan is to do the least amount as possible, put duct tape on the world, and turn this over to the next president. And it's really sad. But this deal with the Iranians, I hope will have to come to the Congress before it's binding. And what would a good deal look like? If we can't go anytime, anywhere to inspect their military facilities, then we'll never be able to verify a good deal. All
right, I have to ask you about Senator Rand Paul calling you and Senator John McCain lapdogs for President Obama's policies.
That'd be news to the White House. I've used every word I know to describe this failed foreign policy by Barack Obama. I think it's failing on multiple fronts. At the end of the day, I like Senator Paul. But of all the people running for president on our side, I think he is the worst possible person to send in the arena to combat Barack Obama's foreign policy because he's been more wrong than Obama.
Well, and the world march on. We'll see what happens with in foreign policy and everything else. Very, very scary times. But I wish more people would be paying attention to what's going on with these millions
Unfortunately,
and millions
they may
and millions
pay
of
attention
refugees.
for all the wrong reasons. There are more groups with the capability to attack this homeland than any time I've ever seen since 9/11. It's because Barack Obama is leading from behind. And the answer to leading from behind is not being one step behind him.
Senator, nice to see you, sir.
Thank you.